What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Sean Strickland reacts to suspension. After getting into an altercation with a fighter who beat his teammate at a Tough Enough event back in June, Sean Strickland has officially been hit with a 6-month suspension. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. MMA Junkie broke the news on Thursday, reporting that the commission also slapped Strickland with a $5,000 fine plus legal fees. However, if the former champion completes a commission-approved anger management course, he can have the suspension shortened to just 4.5 months. In response to the suspension, Strickland took to Instagram with an AI-generated picture of himself showing a group of people how to be even angrier. In the caption, he took a shot at Aljamain, making it clear that he plans on doing whatever he can to have the suspension reduced so that he can get back in the octagon. Well, ready to put this to bed and get back in the cage. Can't have a as a champion. Sadly, I think I'm the only one to change that. Appreciate the commission for getting this done. Anger management, here I come. Assuming he'll follow through, he'll be eligible to fight again in November. Concerns rise for Alex Pereira. During a recent interview, Zhang Mingyang said that he thinks that Alex Pereira isn't motivated with his UFC 320 rematch against Magomed Ankalaev because of how rich he's become. According to Zhang, no matter who you are, once you become rich, you will start to lack motivation. He said, I think Ankalaev can defend his title because I think Alex Pereira is not as motivated as before. I mean, if we can get the old Pereira back, he's still the, let's say, better striker than Ankalaev. But for now, if he still fights like he fought last fight, I think Ankalaev can still win this fight. He's too rich. I think no matter who you are as a fighter or as a human being, if you're too rich, you're just kind of lacking of motivation. As when you are young and you are poor and you are hungry, I think that's normal. Do you agree with Zhang and think that Alex Pereira isn't as motivated as he was in the previous years? Let us know your opinion in the comments below. Herb Dean defends Marc Goddard's decision at UFC 319. Veteran referee Marc Goddard's decision to stand Aljamain and Dricus du Plessis up multiple times on Saturday night was very polarizing. While some fans felt that Goddard should have allowed the action to continue, others believe that the stand-up was justified. During an interview with Helen Yee this week, Herb Dean weighed in, sticking up for Goddard. I don't think anything was wrong with his stand-ups. Hamza dominated the 5 rounds. But what do we want this sport to look like? Do we want people to achieve dominant position, which, if you're not using to beat your opponent, could almost be looked at as a hiding place, as a place to burn time? I'm never going to accuse Hamza of hiding, but if you get crucifix chest-to-chest position, not a lot of height, it's very difficult to get to a place where you can punch your opponent. I'm okay with those stand-ups that Marc Goddard did. Reinier de Ridder and Robert Whittaker, however, both disagreed. While speaking with MMA Fighting this week, RDR said, I think what the ref did was totally wrong. Marc Goddard standing them up, that was very bad. I don't think that was a good plan at all, because Hamza was in control, and he was raining down punches. He was trying. I don't think Marc Goddard should have interfered there. Whittaker echoed that sentiment on his MMA Arcade podcast. Terrible stand-up. He just wanted to give Dricus a chance to throw bombs. You can't do that. He's controlled at this point. 22 minutes of ground time in the match. You stand him up when he's at his most tired. You can't do that. But not once, not just once, twice. He even broke them up when he was on the wall, Chimaev's best position. That was terrible in my opinion. Damon Martin went on to add, I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I've always been against all stand-ups for several reasons, but the discretion of the referee plays a huge part in that. I think Marc Goddard is an excellent referee, but I agree in this case, he made a mistake. While some fans want more stand-ups and others want less, odds are we won't see any big shakeups to the unified rules anytime soon. UFC updates. Heading into this weekend's UFC Shanghai card, let's take a look at today's UFC updates, starting with a bout between Kelvin Gastelum and Dustin Stoltzfus, which has been added to the Noche UFC card on September 13th. Gastelum notably heads into this fight after coming up short against Joe Pyfer in June. On the other side, Stoltzfus will be looking to bounce back from a loss to Nursultan Ruziboev back in May on the Burns Morales card. Next up, we got 2 new additions to the UFC Perth card at the end of next month, with Jack Jenkins set to fight Ramon Taveras and Louis Sutherland set to fight Justin Tafa. Jenkins will be looking to get back in the win column in front of a local crowd after a loss to Gabriel Santos back in February, while Taveras will look to bounce back from a loss to Davey Grant in September. In the Tafa-Sutherland fight, Tafa will look to snap a 2-fight losing skid in front of his local fans. On the other side, Sutherland will look to pick up a big win in his UFC debut. Next up, we got a clip of Frankie Edgar from Thursday's BKFC press conference, where the former UFC champion explained his decision to come out of retirement.
We're in Jersey. Guys came here. It's hard to pass up. As soon as I saw this sport, I was very intrigued. I'm a fighter. This is definitely a fighter, the funniest of all combat sports. You know what I mean? And I had to try it out. Why not do it here? It's intriguing. I used to stuck to free and seaside with no gloves. So why not get paid to do it here in North? And the training's been on. Training just for boxing is, my neck feels great. No one's hanging on my neck. My shoulders feel great. It's amazing. I said I'd never fight again. Here I am. So who's going to take me for my word, really? You know what I mean? Let's see how this first one goes.
Edgar will make his debut against fellow UFC vet Jimmy Rivera on October 4. And last but not least, we got some sparring footage of Mike Perry and Dillon Danis ahead of Perry's BKFC fight with Jeremy Stephens. Danis, on the other hand, is preparing for a fight with Warren Spencer on the Misfits Boxing 22 card on August 30th. Conor McGregor training for winner of Mike Perry versus Jeremy Stephens? While Conor McGregor has re-entered the UFC's anti-doping testing pool and has his sights set on a fight at the UFC's White House card next summer, according to the former champ, he's actually training for the winner of the Mike Perry versus Jeremy Stephens fight. During Thursday's press conference, BKFC President Dave Feldman relayed a statement from McGregor, who indicated that he couldn't be there because he's training.
We were supposed to have my partner, my friend, Conor McGregor, was going to be here today, but he couldn't make it at the last minute because he's actually very, very focused. He's the best Conor McGregor I've ever seen. He's training hard. He's focused. He said, one of you two guys is playing his next fight. So we just want to send a message from Conor McGregor to keep this thing up.
It's not the first time McGregor has teased a bare-knuckle fight, but he does still notably have 2 fights left on his UFC contract, meaning that even if he wants to fight the winner of the Perry-Stephens fight, he can't do so until he fights out his UFC contract. In the meantime, McGregor is enjoying life in Italy, where he seems to have found himself a nonna. Anthony Hernandez hopes for UFC title fight with win over Reinier de Ridder. With 8 wins in a row, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez is hopeful that a win over Reinier de Ridder on the UFC's October 18th card in Vancouver will get him a crack at the title. During an interview with MMA Junkie this week, Hernandez said that although he had hoped that his win over Roman Dolidze would put him next in line, when the UFC offered him a bout against RDR, he quickly accepted. I was getting a massage and I got the offer and they said, "I think this is an offer you don't want to pass." And I said, "Okay, run it." Sign the contract. Now we're here. If this is what I've got to do, let's keep going. Like I said, if I've got to knock every down until I get to the top, then so be it. At the end of the day, I'm not a matchmaker. I'm not Dana White. I don't make the calls. He says be here and I say I'm in. If I'm healthy, I'm there. I'll never say no to anybody in this division. At that point, it's like, what am I going to do? At that point, if people don't believe me, then them. We're going to keep sending that until we get everyone on our side. As Hernandez went on to explain, although he knows there are levels to wrestling, he believes he is on Khamzat Chimaev's level. Islam Makhachev can stop Ilia Topuria in 2 divisions? Ilia Topuria has gone undefeated to date in his professional fighting career. But not only does John Anik believe that Islam Makhachev could hand Topuria his first loss, he thinks the former lightweight champion could do so in 2 weight classes. As it stands right now, it remains to be seen if Topuria and Makhachev will end up crossing paths. Earlier this year, it looked like that could happen when Topuria vacated the featherweight title to move up to 155 pounds, but Makhachev also dropped his belt and moved up to welterweight. The now former champion is expected to challenge the new welterweight champion, Jack Della Maddalena, later this year. While it's clear that the two won't fight each other next, buzz about them throwing hands at some point hasn't died off. Case in point, at a recent Q&A, Anik had this to say about Islam and how a fight with Topuria could play out.
You'll see Islam Makhachev back at 155 pounds. That's the fight, that's a dream matchup. As for how it plays out, if I had to send anybody in there, maybe across 2 divisions to beat Ilia Topuria right now, I would send Islam in there. So I think he's got a great shot.
While there's no question Topuria has established himself as one of the most dangerous fighters in the game, he's not faced anyone who has the Galaxy-class wrestling and ground game of Makhachev. But what do you think of Anik's comments? Do you agree? And speaking of the JDM-Makhachev fight, the man who lost the title to JDM, Belal Muhammad, was recently asked by a fan to weigh in on that fight. Here's what he had to say.
I think it just comes down to if Islam can get it to the ground. If it gets it to the ground, I think Islam will be levels above him on the ground and could catch a submission, but you got to get it there first.
It's certainly the consensus that if Islam could take JDM down, his chances of winning the fight will rise exponentially. But what do you think? Can you see Della Maddalena surviving the top game of Islam? Belal was also asked by a fan if he'd be willing to fight his training partner if Islam secures the welterweight title.
It's my belt, so for me, I got to work my next opponent. So after I get my next win, then I can talk about the belt.
Now, sure, Belal didn't explicitly say yes, but he didn't say he wouldn't fight Makhachev either. In fact, you could argue he was signaling here that he would. And this is a pretty big departure from what Belal was saying earlier this year, when he was still the welterweight champ. Case in point, prior to UFC 315, Belal said this: "I'd never fight Islam because that's different for both me and him. We've trained together, and when you're sweating with somebody, bleeding with somebody, and training like that, it's just a different relationship. It wouldn't be about the money for me or him either, I assume. So I would never want to do that, and they helped me so much. So for me, I would rather go up to 185 and let him just take the 170 pounds if that's the case." Circumstances do change. Do you see a bout between Belal and Islam materializing at some point? And if so, who do you think would have their hand raised following the fight? Aljamain Sterling sends a warning to Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy may have punched his ticket to a title fight with Alexander Volkanovski, but the way Aljamain Sterling sees things, Murphy's going to be in for a tough fight when he and Volk square off. During an interview with MMA Junkie this week, Sterling weighed in on the bout. Lerone Murphy is a tough and smart fighter. Volkanovski is a tough and very smart fighter. I got to train with him. I know Volk firsthand. He's a cardio machine and very technically sound, well-rounded everywhere. He's the champ and has been the champ for quite some time for a reason, so I don't think he got there by accident. Lerone's gonna have his work cut out for him. So far, no announcement from the UFC on when the bout may take place. However, the expectation is that the two will collide before the end of the year, as Volk looks to pick up the first title defense of his second reign. Aljamain Sterling versus Brian Ortega last-minute change, and Dana White receives major backlash. Last night, the UFC had its weigh-ins for the Sterling-Ortega fight. Ahead of the weigh-in, it was circulating that Brian Ortega was struggling to cut weight. One report even mentioned that he fell and had to be rushed to the hospital, according to an MMA journalist in China, which was later confirmed by other reporters. After the report, many credible people like MMA Mania's Alex Bahunin reported that the fight was off the card. We even had fighters like Josh Emmett tweeting, making it appear like they were ready to step in. Well, randomly, Brian Ortega showed up to the UFC weigh-ins looking absolutely drained and made weight for what's now a catchweight fight at 153 pounds. Many people in the MMA community were concerned for Ortega. However, UFC fighter Lerone Murphy was more concerned with Brian Ortega's teams for allowing it to get to this stage by writing, "What's concerning is he has a team of people around him that he presumably pays money to guide his weight cut, a nutritionist or human performance guy. He was on Embedded once, but Brian has missed weight and has been hospitalized twice. Who are these douchebags doing his weight cuts?" After Dana White tweeted the face-off, the MMA community took the chance to bash the UFC for allowing this to happen, as there's footage of Brian Ortega looking horrible and barely able to walk properly. This is what the MMA community had to say to Dana White for allowing this fight to happen. Let's kick it off with Brian Suderer, who is a doctor, writing, "What are we doing? Ortega looks like he's a sneeze away from being in a hospital for dehydration. If you really cared about the health of your fighters, you would have looked for a replacement for Ortega. It's very clear he is not 100% medically cleared to fight. He walks like he's sleepwalking." Ortega looks like a guy that fainted and went to the hospital and magically was cleared to still fight on the card because fighter safety is only important when they want to use it as an excuse. Just look at Brian Ortega. This fight should not happen. I can't believe Dana posted this thinking this would somehow hype us for the fight. Ortega doesn't even know where he is, dude. What the f? Dana just won his money. He doesn't care about the fighters. Dana, Ortega looks like mess and just had a horrible weight cut. Cancel this fight, please, and rebook it for Noche. Dana White is a criminal. Ortega looks like he's going to pass out right in front of him. And not only does he see nothing wrong with this, but he advertises it on his personal account. Dude moving slower than Undertaker walkout. No way he's good to fight. Dog, Ortega can't even walk. Cancel this. Ortega getting his final medical checkup. Dude, Ortega is literally a zombie. As much as I want to see this fight, it should not be happening tomorrow. What are your thoughts on the situation? Should Brian Ortega be allowed to fight? Let us know in the comments below. We have a favor to ask. Help us reach 200,000 subscribers on MMA Zone by subscribing and turning on notifications for daily MMA content. Seriously, we rarely miss a day.